24 to 105 f2.8. It's a nearly par focal length for about here. Again, I don't know what film tubes, but listed it's $3,000. So it's a very economical solution and has image stabilization. However, the camera itself also provides image stabilization. And this image IS, cinema cameras don't have IBIS, meaning the sensor doesn't float. And that's because it can create artifacts from video. And so they avoid that for professional cinema cameras. And this is not just Canon, it's actually, it's common throughout the industry. So we do have digital IS. You just turn that on. So there's two modes of digital IS. The standard is a less aggressive image stabilization, and you lose about 10% of your image. So immediately after you turn it on, you will see that you lose about 10%. I'll turn it off just so that you see. So you see, it kind of jumps, right? So it's a little lighter. Once you turn on the digital IS, it then crops in about 10%, so that it has that area on the sensor to kind of calculate that IS. Sure. This is off, and I'll when I do that, so it's a little clearer, more clear. This is off, and this is on. So yeah, it's about. The waveform? Yeah, it's 10%. It's 10%. It's 1.1 times the crop factor on the image stabilization. So you can also do a more aggressive IS, and that's called high. So when I go from standard to high, this is actually a 1.4 crop. And this will be even, if you want even more image stabilization, for example, when you don't have a stabilized lens, and you just really want to control your movements on the camera, unwanted movements, you can actually just choose that more aggressive image stabilization for that. I'm just going to turn this back to standard and then off. It does with supported lenses. It also has anamorphic correction. So, yes.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
On prime lenses, if you're using it in high stabilization, you get a jello effect a little bit, or you know what I'm talking about, or is it more? Using thermal stabilization?
Right. You won't get a jello effect, but it can be. So if you do get a jello effect, and that I understand, and that's why image IS can be dangerous sometimes, because those artifacts can be unexpected. But if you do get of an odd effect, and jello effect actually also has something to do with the speed of the sensor. It's not rolling shutter necessarily, but they work. It can magnify that effect, the rolling shutter of the sensor. I would recommend that you use this new feature. Again, we're improving the image stabilization. Use a new feature called a vector for digital IS, and this, when you enable it, actually kind of, if you're seeing these kind of odd effects where it's a bit too aggressive, I would recommend that you turn this on, where it's calculating the motion of the subject and the motion of the camera, so that so that unwanted artifacts in either the standard or the high power modes of the IS are kind of compensated for. So that's yet another feature for that. So we do actually support anamorphic lenses, in that basically there's two ways that we support anamorphic lenses. Anamorphic, for those of you don't, I'm sure most of you know what an anamorphic lens is. It basically kind of squeezes optically squeezes the image so that later in projection, originally you could unsqueeze it for widescreen formats, which wasn't necessarily the design of the original Film Academy sizing and aspect ratio. So now, of course, it's all the rage. It's still the rage, where people are using anamorphic lenses on cameras, and this DCI sensor. So the aspect ratio of DCI, once you use an anamorphic lens on it, again, it's squeezing that image, and you can unsqueeze it to various aspects. So this particular part of that anamorphic correction is so that you can actually tell the metadata in your recording, what anamorphic aspect you've shot in. This doesn't actually affect the image itself, and this is again that's for the metadata on that. You can, however, then go into the you can actually then squeeze or unsqueeze this image. Where you do that for monitoring, though, is in this menu here, in the monitoring setup, and you can then view your lensing, your look in real time, right? And not just the metadata. So yeah, a lot of monitoring features that you get with this camera, the C400. So with the C400, the controls are now all on the left side. Some people, found it annoying that with some of the other cameras, the controls, like the audio controls, will be on the right side. But now everything is on the left, on the operator side, and that's a useful feature. All these buttons can be assigned. They can be reprogrammed according to how you want to. They're marked as magnify, peaking, all the standard kind of assist tools, but you can change that to whatever feature you want. This LCD is actually the brightest LCD yet that we've had on a camera, and it's actually brighter than the C70 or the C300 Mark III's LCD. Really useful in bright light, of course, outdoors when you're trying to see the image. Some new touchscreen features of the LCD are that you can actually there's some quick shortcuts to change settings on the LCD. So this is not available on our other cinema cameras. You can just quickly change your ISO or your stops, and your shutter angle. All very useful, very quick ways to do that. And there's actually another quick tip here that I'm just going to show you. You can just quickly, on the upper left, if you just touch that little tab, you can get a very quick overview of what your settings are, and again, very useful to really know where you're at and you're shooting without getting deep into the menus. Just saving your time from having to go through all the menus. This lens, I love this lens, so I just want to kind of give you an overview of the 24-105. Again, I mentioned that it's parfocal. It was designed for photo and for video, because you can see for video you have this dedicated iris button, and it's very useful to have. There's minimal breathing. Again, great for a lens that's designed for both photo and video. Minimal breathing as you actually focus. I'm going to change the manual focus here. Go over here. So as you see, and now of course our focus guide is available once you go into manual focus, but the breathing isn't bad at all. And again, it's almost parfocal. Really nice bokeh, very lightweight, and it has an optional. This is if you want to control the zoom with a servo, it has the option. This requires no extra power. It gets its power from the RF mount, and this also provides a lot of the. So this lens and the camera has chromatic aberration compensation. So chromatic aberration, for those, I'm sure most of you know, but chromatic aberration is when the wavelengths of the colors hit the sensor at different frequencies and then create usually you see this old lenses or badly designed lenses when they're wide open, but you'll see magenta green shifts basically doubling up on the thing. So with the C400 and this lens and many of our other RF lenses, you do get the chromatic aberration aberration compensation, and you also have distortion compensation. So most of the RF lenses will have that compensated for in the camera as an option. Third-party lenses, of course, and manual focus and manual lenses without any of the pins, RF pins, will not have that feature.
Dave, question for you.
Yeah.
With the Servo, is that affected by using the traditional BP60s powered servo motor? With the traditional batteries? Does that affect that at all?
So yes, well, no, it does not affect it. But thank you for reminding me to tell the audience that this has, I had a whole PowerPoint presented to catch up on all the points. But it's actually better if I just kind of go through all this, and thank you for reminding me for that one point, which I did not cover, which is the battery solutions for this. So the C400 uses what's called BP60Ns, and this is a new, it looks almost the same as the older batteries, the BP60s. However, it has a higher capacity, it's higher voltage. And the BP60Ns, this will still work with the older batteries actually, but what it won't, what was it?
Sorry, I didn't mean to say that last time. I've got a boatload of batteries, so when you just said change the batteries.
Oh yeah, well, it's not a complete lost cause because the BP60s and the BP30s still power this camera, but what you do not get, it'll power the servo too, which is Joe's question. It'll power the servo, but it will now power this lens terminal. So if you're using one of our kind of more, our servo lenses that require the lens terminal here, lens pin, it will not. So the different crop modes here really are kind of aspect ratio based. So if you want to,
Can you do that without losing resolution?
Only in Super. Well, in Super 35mm crop, you're still, it is cropping on the sensor. Now, but you're not necessarily losing resolution per se, because if you're shooting for 4K, it's still 4K. So when you do the crop to Super 35, it'll crop the sensor, as you see, but you are not losing resolution. Of course, in real terms, you are losing resolution. Because as you go from like 6K to a 4K, that's going to give you a very sharp video. But if you're going from your Super 35 Pro, which is 4368 by, I can't remember the exact figure, but you can. Then you're using a smaller portion of the sensor, and that downsample won't be as sharp. But it is a Super 35 Pro, which is about a 1.4 times crop.
You're better off using large format lenses.
Yeah, but I think sometimes it's just very convenient just to use a lens like this and then go for a crop, and I think that's what this gentleman is referring to.
Yeah, when you apply LUTS, does that affect the waveform or false color on the camera's monitor?
That's a smart question, and when you apply LUTS, no, it does not.
So you're always reading raw off the sensor in the...
You're always reading the base, or the actual CP, the custom picture profile. So in Canon 2, this is actually based upon that Canon 2. The LUT only applies to the output of the port in question, and you can apply multiple different LUTs on different ports of the HDMI, and you can see it has the monitor, which is 3G, and it has a 12G SDI port for 4K. 3G, as you know, is limited to HD and 2K. So, but yeah, a lot of people have asked, for like, oh, can I get a waveform with like a Rec 79 LUT, but still shooting log 2? And currently, there's no way to do that. On our reference displays, you can, but you cannot do it in the camera. I think it keeps you safe. At the same time, I understand it's an option sometimes that people want. Yes.
Does it have a built-in intervalometer?
Yeah, I did go through that a bit. You can choose to. It's called interval recording, but it is an intervalometer, and you can choose the period and the frame rate. So yeah, it's very active.
Cool.
Question back to that crop. Can you put that on a button so that you can shine back and forth on your
I believe so. Yeah, I haven't done it yet, but let me just give it a go. And here's another tip for you. So if you actually press the button that you want to change, so if I just press this, like say number 1, I don't want to do mag, or 2, I don't think you're peaking that much. So 2, and so just touch simultaneously pressing the menu button and the assignable button will give you a shortcut as to what options you have for that button. Let's see if we can actually change. You can change a whole lot. Let's just see if you can actually do the Super 35 millimeter crop.
So you don't have to do it, just so long as you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
Just.
Does it have built-in NDs also?
yes. And there's a whole lot of options. So I get that question.
Don't sweat it.
Yeah, okay. Just give it a little more. Oh no. So for now, I would say no, that you can't assign it. But hopefully they put that option because I understand it could be useful. The NDs. So the NDs, like you can go 246, and then that's what's called, those are just the filter 246. Obviously, there's probably like 3 filters in there. But then there's an extended mode where you're doubling up on the filters, and it becomes 8 and 10. So maximum 10 stops, minimum 2.
Can you bake your LUTs into the footage?
Well, the way to bake your LUTs into the footage is basically by choosing the picture profile that suits the LUT that you have. So, there's 2 ways to do it. One is just going to choose the default, the default LUT, meaning the default Canon recommended gamma and color space. But with this new camera, and this is very new, you can actually choose, and I haven't done it yet, but you can choose to import a look file. So what a look file is basically is your custom LUT that you import, and you can bake into the footage that you record. So yeah, the answer is yes. This is actually similar to the C70 has a look file, and that is the C70 is odd that you can't import LUTs, which you can do for this, but you can import a look file, which can be dangerous because of course it burns it in. So yeah, it can do it.
What internal record media?
CF Express and SD card.
Okay.
In terms of, I know it doesn't have image stabilization, but there was something I heard about with the new VCM voice coil matrix lenses. There's some coordination going on.
There
With
it
the
is, yeah.
C400?
So with
Yeah.
the VCMs we're going to work especially well with this is a VCM, and that's a VCM 35 millimeter, right?
Yeah.
We don't have that here, but that VCM it has floating optical elements, and I don't know why they call it voice coil motor because I don't know the relationship between voice.
It's like an old technology. It's
Yeah,
like a wire,
yeah, the voice.
What does that do?
Okay. Oh, okay.
What does that do?
It's just for
So
making
it's a better way to kind of float the elements so that there's better stabilization on the lens itself. So it's lens stabilization. It's just a special kind of technology to float the elements called voice coil
And
VCM.
It works with the internal stabilization in this camera, and
It coordinates.
it coordinates.
Yes.
It doesn't compete.
Yes.
Cool.
So it's really highly recommended that with this camera, with the VCM, you're really going to get superior,
And
stabilization.
this lens is a VCM lens?
Sorry, I don't think this is VCM. I said that. Yeah,
No.
this is not. The VCMs are a new series of lenses, and the fly-by-wire focus is really, you would have to feel it.
Yeah.
It's really smooth and very fine. The granularity is really, really fine. The image stabilization with VCM is superior, and it has an iris, just like this.
Are there lenses already coming out? Sorry, already coming out?
The 35's out.
The 35.
They're
They're coming out.
they're coming out. I forgot. Stephen, do you remember the next one? It's not out yet.
The 24.
There's-
If there's another one we don't know.
We don't know what we can't talk about,
Okay.
but there's definitely another one.
We know,
One of
we just
those.
can't say it.
Yeah, we know, but
Another 35 or another?
Another focal length.
no.
Yeah.
it- it-
35
it'd be another
V8. I saw that.
Oh yeah, 35's out.
$1,400.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
There's going to be another one though. I just forget the focal length. Maybe that's good because maybe I just can't remember if I
They
can talk
have
about
at
it.
least 2 more on the roadmap right now.
Yeah.
You can use the VCM with other lenses too, right?
The VCM is particular to the lens.
So on your SDI 12,
12G?
is
Yeah.
that gonna blow up before, like, if you don't attach things right?
No, I haven't had any, like even on the 300 Mark III and 500 Mark II, it also has 12 SDI. I haven't heard of any kind of blowups. I know that that was a problem with some of the older Arri cameras and Komodo, right? But I have not heard of many problems like that with the with our cameras, the 12G SDI.
So you have to use your 12G cable SDI, right?
You don't have to because you can come out like here. We have the
You
3G.
record out, right?
If you want to record 4K, you do need 12G. If you want to use an external recorder, for whatever reason, right? Yes.
Yeah, what's the pre-record buffer on RAW versus AVC?
That I do not know. I don't even have that in my PowerPoint. There is a
Because I saw it in the menus there for pre-recording.
Yeah, there is a pre-record option where I think it's, I believe it's 6 seconds.
I was going to
footage.
say 5, but
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I just don't have it on my fingertips, but we do have that pre-record feature. Again, new for the C400, that will give you, about, I would say 5 or 6 seconds of pre-record before it actually hits the card.
You don't get an added benefit for recording out SDI, right? It's, you can do, all the flavors are raw internal, so there's really no benefit.
Yeah, I was responding to the question without adding any kind of commentary on it, but you don't need, like, this has the internal raw, this has the ability to record 4K to XFAVC or HEVC to the SD cards. Most of the time, unless you're streaming
ProRes.
or you want to go directly to ProRes, right? Because we do not support ProRes internal recording on this camera. You don't need to record externally, except for those reasons. Yes.
I saw a menu option for zoom demand on the handle in the menus there. Is that something related to the C400 or is that an external zoom control handle?
We do have demands.
Correct, but is there any
not-
zoom on the handle on the C400 or no?
no, it has to do with the Servo kit zoom and focus control.
Is that the Cine Servo T44 lens servo control or only the external, whatever?
It's the external handle.
The external
options,
handle.
right?
Yeah.
Focus and demand. Yeah, the
Yeah.
demand is.
Okay.
CSD 300 is the...
IASD something.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
And just so you guys know, I did try putting the servo from Cine Servos on there. It doesn't. It's a whole different mode.
Well, that's
Oh,
a
the
rosette,
servo
right?
for the lens
Yeah.
itself?
But does
with
the
the rocker
20
on it, because this one doesn't
Correct.
have a rocker. I don't know if you guys noticed, but this is just
Yeah,
the buttons on here.
it won't.
So it doesn't have a true.
Does it have the 20-pin port though on that one, or is that the other
I don't know, is
model?
it a 20 pin?
There's a 20-pin version that's $200 more. So it's on the
I
bottom.
don't think it's a 20 pin. No, it's.
And that 20-pin supports the little old one from the T44 lenses. The CNE.
Oh, the CNE.
The Cine servos, the 1880 and the 70 to 200. Yeah.
That's for video guys.
But there's no rosette, so like you
that's-
can't mount it easily. Correct, but
Yeah,
is that the
no.
20-pin one on the bottom?
No.
I think
No,
that's
it
the standard
doesn't.
one. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
But the menu for that relates to the demand.
To the
Nothing,
external.
nothing that the camera offers.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. It's going deep.
Is that
Yeah.
correct? Am I correct in what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's the demands. It's
Okay,
our demand.
all right.
Control.
But
Right.
make sure I'm
Yeah.
still with it.
Yeah, they basically go off that same terminal there, and they just have this wide
Right,
label.
exactly.
In relation to that, we've got Ethernet capability and remote control protocol. Does that actually talk to the 24-105 and you could remote zoom on the lens?
Yes, not only the 24 to 105, but pretty much any lens,
Any of the same
any
service.
EF
Yeah.
lens too. You can control iris and you can control the zoom, so that's very convenient. And you can color shade. Just to kind of give you an idea of the power of that, you can. So if I unprotect this, and you'll see that there's a whole, it's a very deep level of color control and color shading capabilities, including a whole color matrix. So all that can be controlled remotely. So really deep color shading with our XD protocol, which goes to do with our other cameras.
So question, right now, you only can record RAW to CF Express?
That's correct, yeah.
How come not to the SD?
It just, there's no current SD
Well, the reason I'm saying,
standard that can handle the bit rates.
well, the reason why I'm saying that, because the C70 does.
That's a good point, yes. I think just for this though, they wanna, the C70 does, but people have all, I mean, people who don't use this very standardized, you know, UDC3, I think,
Yeah.
cards, and particular cards that are recommended can have
P90s.
problems. And so, but that's a good question. That's a
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
point. My feeling is that the reason why they limit it to CF Express is that they just want to make sure that it has the ample bandwidth for 6K. So the C70 is not.
It's 4K.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
4K, and so that it has the same levels of HQ, ST, and LT, but because it's 4K, it doesn't have that intensive. 4K, the difference between 4K and 6K is actually dramatic in terms of the actual size of the file, because you know, you multiply it by, you know, but not just the horizontal, but by the vertical. So it's just I think the bad.
Yeah. Because the reason why I like it's just a fascinating thing. And it's like my main camera is a C500, right? So like I have no problem with the CF Express, but it's one of those things where like I never shot RAW with the C500 until like now because of the new RAW update. So I'm doing 12-bit at like 123 minutes when I was only getting 32 minutes a card, right? So not only are the files getting a little bit more efficient, like the RAW LT is going to give you 12-bit at like less than XAVC. So that's the reason why it's just an interesting thing. Like the LT RAW is actually takes up less space than the XAVC at 810 megabytes per second.
More compressed.
It's more
They can
compressed.
you know, that it's a good point that the LT, the fastest one, but for this, with 6K, the LT is 552 megabits per second.
Okay.
So that's, again, if I look at the XFAVC and try to see what that bit rate is.
It should be like 810 and higher, right?
Yeah, let's see what that bit rate is.
Not long gap. You're in long gap right now.
Yeah, that's long gap. If I go to enter frame,
So
let's go to on that. That's 360 megabits per second, so that's actually less than the 6K LT of the. If I go to,
is that the highest? Like, cause on my C500 it was 810, so that's kind of surprising that it says 360.
yeah, if I go to RAW, we're gonna lose this because the RAW is always PCI. If I go to RAW and I go to LT at 2398, actually at 2398, it's like 293. It's back to the XFAVC. Yeah, it's actually with the.
So when you're in RAW, it cuts out of video mode. It cuts out of video.
Well, because it goes to DCI, since that's a
Got it.
native aspect ratio,
Got it.
and then this wireless transmitter can't do the DCI aspect. But no, you have a good point. At 23.98, the XFAVC in interframe has more bandwidth than the LT. So it's something I'll bring up. Maybe they can introduce at some future,
Firmware,
future firmware updates, the option to at least do the LT
Yeah.
to the SD card. Since
Because I know it's going to be capable, because the reason why most people got V90s now is because the 4K 120, which this camera has at a very superior level now,
Yeah.
takes up a lot of space. So
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe in the future firmware, I'll definitely, you know, kick it up to our product group and see what they say, to give it at least an option, because it can be useful to be able to do that,
Yeah.
right? Use SD cards. So if there are no more questions, of course you're welcome to come up and.
Stick it on a button, so you could be like, we're going to go 32, or we're going to go 12.5.
Yeah.
Excuse me, guys.
Sticks here.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
And then we're gonna kill the lights for the low light thing, so just find a comfortable spot so you don't bang.
What I'm going to do, hey, Dabbling, I'm going to need you to move, please. I'm going to shoot. I'm shooting the shot right in there with the computer, so I appreciate it if you could.
How do we bring the display in here?
No, I'm going to do it up here.
Oh, okay, got it.
So, Wait, nobody kill the lights, please. We're not there yet. You excited? You excitable people, you?
Everybody's too excited.
Yes.
Right.
Where are we hiding on this one?
Do you want me to pump up the ISO to?
No, no,
Okay.
no, no. Okay. So we're, okay. I don't want that. I want. Okay, so what I want to do.
You gotta turn the power to on, Jimmy.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Peanut Gallery.
Because with log 3, they just don't see the contrast, see the grain.
I'm not worried about that. I'm just going for noise.
Yeah, that's
So
what I mean.
that's-
The noise is like.
There's less noise in 3 than there is in 709 or YDR.
No, 709 has less noise than 3.
Let me try 3. 'Cause this is, I'm talking about the bass that people have used to doing with the camera.
Okay, go ahead.
And so if we stay with 3 right now, boom, that's done. Good.
But we had done 3.
Okay, so where's the ISO hiding? Is it only in function? Where there it is. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go to
Yeah, it's sweet.
right now. And
Right, and
do we have NDs on? Yes, we do.
yes, and also it's on ISO 3200, the base.
Break the lens.
Track you really good.
We're gonna do.
Hello.
Sit in my chair.
Okay. And the dinosaurs knew when they were on autofocus.
There we go. Okay, Joe.
Dinosaur discovered me.
All right.
Oh, your question, yeah, we do Canvas base ISO.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, we
Excellent.
Keep that one back off, back there. Okay, so here we're just sitting at 800. So the old way, which was old way was just doubling. So 1600, 3200 now. Now, and you can see that I'm a little. See, it's also helpful because I'm sitting here with a 2.8. But that's at 800, and obviously you can go up and look at the picture if you need to. It's clean. There's nothing there. Again, old style we're doing first. Then, okay, 3200, 4000, 5000, 6400 now. Again, clean. And keep going. Now here's 6.
Doing the English
Come
dub
on.
here.
There we go. So, it's there we go. I just ran into the first wall. At 800, it's not going to let me go past 64. Okay? So, we're at 64.
I can't drive 55.
So now I'm going to go to 32. And we're at 32. Back to 64 there. And again, clean. As you guys walk up, any noise you're going to see up there, that's a consumer TV. But if you're looking at kind of the lighter stuff, so that's 64. So here's 8,000, 10,000, 12.8 now. And again, clean.
Clean.
And that's, I mean, that's what the existing cameras do now, but as we talked about at the beginning, you know, that center line stays in centered. It doesn't start drifting up as you get higher up in the ISO. So this is at a 3200 base. So for fun, say if we go ahead and just write to 12.8.
12.8, that must be
Now,
madness.
It's the only way I'll get mad.
Now the other thing too is we also saw with the other British company, they actually had it and did some stuff. They went up, they were shooting right next to an FX6, and they went up to 51, which is the next one up.
It's in the black.
And you saw the Sony, the FX6, as we got into these higher ones, started skewing off in Greenland. Things started going green, the person didn't like, the wall changed and everything, and then we were showing the Canon at 51, and colors looked right on target. But, I mean, that's pretty silly. You know, and the other thing too is some of you already know, when Canon, if noise ever shows up, it moves. It's constantly moving. It looks like film grain. It looks organic versus the screen door effect that everybody else has. So, anybody impressed yet?
Yeah.
Can you throw?
We can kill more lights and even get better.
Can you throw a LUT on there?
We want a LUT
If you wouldn't mind.
Now you're really pushing it
Or
because
put it at 2.8.
I haven't had it long enough to
See what's really.
David,
View
How does
assist?
it go?
if I'm in 3, can we bring up just a 709?
Yeah, I can put basically a 709 LUT on the
Okay.
on the HDMI, right?
Yeah, so
yeah, let's
stay forward, son. Thank you. So you can, in this mode, you can just go slap. I haven't been able to play with this enough, and I try to make sure that I know what I'm doing, which is better than most. Okay, there's a 709.
709, yeah.
Yeah, just, there you go, boom. Which looks a little,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you can.
but, I mean, with nothing, with one light.
Oh, we're at
Basically.
25,600. Wow,
Yeah, I went
It's great.
Yeah.
Really clean, huh?
Wow.
And,
It's usable.
you know, a lot of people say, great for docs. Instead of having, say, 3 guys around the table, and you had 5 lights to get these guys right, the rest of the room too. And you know, when you go to move around the table, you got 5 or 6 lights like that, it's gonna take you 10, 15 minutes to reset as you go around the table each time. Now, what if you're able to do it with 2 lights and some practicals?
12 and ISO 12.
There's 2.8.
Facial
That's
help
nice.
turn off the.
Now, the other thing too is the autofocus is working here because of this, because the other cameras, the previous cameras, the minute you got into this low light, autofocus goes bonkers because there's no contrast to read.
Yeah, if you look at your eye at the subject, at the actor, then you'll see how dark he is, but the autofocus is just bang on, where, you know, it's in facial detection mode.
I mean, that's, I'm a big fan of, I mean, we're dealing for everything. I'm a big fan of Canon just because I'm a big fan of stuff that works that doesn't have issues.
Yeah, switching between
Okay.
eye detection and head detection, as you can see. Even in, I would say that low light is always a challenge for all the autofocus systems. But
So again, newer autofocus working
12.8
amazing.
on the C400 is clean.
Yeah, that's all these new adjustments that are in the dual pixel autofocus 2 that we're still discovering. And then now, if you didn't know it, Canon also sells service contracts. Extended warranties are worthless because 9 times out of 10 you got a problem with the camera. It's not a warranty issue, it's something you did to it, correct? So, anytime you're walking in, because it's not a warranty thing, if you're in the warranty period, you're walking in the door, spend 150, 200 bucks walking in the door anywhere to get any camera fixed. So, what Canon has, they call the Care Pack Pros. It's a service contract that basically gets you unlimited trips to the doctor, priority in service, a loaner if needed, and a one-time repair replace, meaning you dropped it. They're going to try and put it back together again. If they can't, they'll give you a new camera. Contract's over right there. Now, granted, in a 3-year contract, that could be 3 months into it, but that could be 3 months before the 3 years is up. Also, if you sell the camera 2 years down the road, contract goes with the camera. But amazing, on this camera, the 3-year service contract is going to be $799. $800 for 3 years. Nice insurance available and fast service. But that's all the sales crap I wanted to say.
All right, lights back on.
Lights back on.